When it's playoff time, execution is everything. Every yard counts, every play matters, and that's exactly how Louis Wickett with Key Mortgage Group approaches every home loan. From central Iowa to every corner of the state, Louis helps clients get to the closing table with confidence and precision. Just like a great game plan, every detail is dialed in from pre-approval to closing day. Whether it's your first home loan or your dream home, Louis helps you move the chains and cross the goal line. Because when the pressure's on, execution matters most. Louis Wickett, Key Mortgage Group, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 1212160. First
Every
time with that
time.
one. You know, I always think like, dang, we should update this and we should get like new clips, but like low key, just the
It's so
aura of just
good.
the first ones are so tough. So
And
if you saw that and you're new here, that's our playoff intro. We only play that for the playoffs, for the playoff weeks, I should say. And although we're not there for the big classes, we are there for the small classes. And I guess for some of those 3A, 4A, 5A teams, it is the playoffs. So fitting to debut that right now. And if you're looking for picks, if you want to know, hey, who's IAfootball got this week? Well, you're going to find out today. Thursday it is. We're going to have our picks coming out on Rockfin. Our rankers have been really good. They were 83% last week. We're going to get into that. We're going to go into what they did last week, each ranker. But first, if you saw, we are debuting our final 8 for Mr. IAfootball in each class on Locks and Dogs. We appreciate everyone tuning in who hasn't tuned in all year for Locks and Dogs and is tuning in to see Mr. IAfootball finalists. That'll be here in just about a minute. I encourage you to stick around and hear us talk about some high school football, but if not, we appreciate your support and we appreciate you hopping over to YouTube. We got tons of good stuff over here. So drop a subscribe and stay tapped in. But these are our Mr. IAfootball final 8. We are going to have the final 4 before the Dome, and then after the Dome, we will have the winners, and then we will also have our other awards. Last year we had quarterback, running back, wide receiver, defensive, rookie of the or underclassmen of the class. You know, we'll have a tons of awards, but Mr. IAfootball is kind of the big one. It's the Heisman in each class. So here is our final 8. I will debut these starting with 5A, and I'm going to let Nick and I each talk about a single guy. Now, I saw Drake DeGroot, and again, these are in no particular order. I saw Drake DeGroot in a game against Dowling in which they won. Big fan of his. Dude's a gamer. Throws good balls. He's got good skill guys around him too. He's kind of the person that sticks out to me in this final 8. Nick, who you eyeing here?
Yeah, I talked a bit about Larmy last week, so I'll kind of go over Reddick here, another guy that I saw in person. I mean, I would agree, just kind of a gamer quarterback. I mean, he doesn't have the big arm. He's not got elite speed, but like he plays the game really well, right? He plays quarterback really well, lots of success. Obviously, we've seen a couple great seasons from Iowa City Liberty. But yeah, I really like this list. I think the 5A ranker did a great job. These are some big names in the class.
Yeah, and this is not easy to narrow down. I mean, we went from 16 guys as a watch list to now the final 8. And I can tell you, I kind of helped out with our rankers when they had some questions or comments. And boy, there are some kids that got snubbed. There is absolutely no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, we're trimming our list down to 8. And going to class 4A, I've seen a few of these guys. Boy, Hudson Scholl, his tape is just absolutely crazy. That dude is like the Johnny Football of Iowa high school football. He's just left-handed. I haven't got to see him this year, but his tape is just incredible. And every time I see his name pop up on Twitter, I know something ridiculous is going to happen with that clip. He had a crazy run against Lewis Central. ADM is just humming. That team lost a lot of skill guys last year, and they've replaced them incredibly. And he's been that core person running that offense. Boy, they're dangerous, and you could argue him as the front runner right now in Class 4A.
Yeah, I'll talk about him here in a little bit when we get into Locks and Dogs, but I want to talk about Cash Parks here. We've talked about his name a little bit this year, but now going to watch Xavier last week and seeing it in person, yeah, this dude's the real deal. Quarterback of the wire-to-wire #1 team in 4A. This guy can sling it. He can run it. I mean, he is just a pure athlete on the field. Really fun to watch.
No doubt. Going into year 3 of IAfootball, we've had 2 Mr. IAfootballs so far. This will be the third set of winners, I guess you could say. And boy, looking at this list, lot of interesting guys here. I don't think I've seen any of these people in person yet. I've been kind of sticking around a lot of small classes, but Case and Thomas, boy, obviously committed to the University of Iowa. Dude is a threat on both sides of the football. Not like crazy, numbers on either side, but the dude affects the game in so many ways. Heelan is a contender because of him, and you got to assume in these big games he's going to play more and more of a factor. On the defensive side, he's racking up TFLs like crazy. On offense, he's that workhorse back that can go and just win you football games. And he had an incredible year last year, and I bet in this postseason he's going to have some big games on the horizon.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good name there. I went back to make sure before this, but Jackson McIntyre was underclassman of the year
There you
last
go.
year for storyline to see the growth there from last year being one of the top young guys in the class to now being one of the top guys in the class. I think that's really awesome to see the growth of these players.
Boy, Clear Lake has just been unstoppable. Every single
Yeah.
time they've had a big game, they've just dismantled whoever's been put in front of them. They're going to be a fun team to watch. Class 2A, here we go. Getting a little more interesting here in these small classes. I just saw Mac Murdoch last week. We've done some talking about him. How about Lakin Caves? First off, one of the better football names in the class. I saw him against Regina in a game that they had lost. First play of the game, though, he returns the opening kickoff, stiff arms a dude, makes a crazy play. This dude's another takeover guy, well-deserved in this Mr. IAfootball finalist, Elite 8 for Class 2A. And I think this is one of two teams that will have multiple people on our finalists, Bellevue getting Cal Boniface and Keenan Kilberg, Nick.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing here, and I really like Brock Baiting here. I haven't gotten to see him in person this year. I got to watch him last year, and it looks like he's doing just about the same thing he was doing last year. I mean, just dismantling defenses and taking Kemper to have yet again one of the better seasons, one of the best teams in 2A. Again, Baiting just consistently been a really great quarterback. I'm not really surprised to see him on this list again. But yeah, like I said, seeing him in person, he deserves it. Like, this dude is a really good quarterback. Really fun to watch.
And I can tell you the level of the team that you're on does play a factor. Now, there are some
Mm-hmm.
athletes on some 500 teams that are going to make this list, but Brock Baiting, the quarterback on the wire-to-wire number one team in Class 2A, the best offense. His numbers are elite, but even if his numbers weren't elite, that's still going to be a factor in these finalists because at the end of the day, we're trying to find the MVP of these teams. And, how good would Kemper be without Brock Baiting? That's the kind of question we're answering here. So
Mm-hmm.
giving you an insight as to how this list kind of goes down, the level of your team definitely does matter. In Class 1A, I texted Nick about this earlier. Interesting to see which class has which positions the most. And Class 1A is a quarterback class. You have 7 quarterbacks on this list. Zane Mullinex, I got to give him a shout out. EBF, one of those 500 teams where he makes the list. That dude has been incredible. Like all-purpose yards, tackles, and whatever. He's been incredible. I'm going to go ahead and talk about Kyle Tracy because his numbers aren't even really too crazy, but it's because he's hardly had to play a second half. Dude just goes out, throws touchdowns, barely turns the ball over. He's on a Regina offense that is seemingly unstoppable, and they've been at this point, and they're going to look to continue that in the postseason. So Kyle Tracy, one of 7 quarterbacks as a finalist in the Mr. IAfootball for Class 1A.
Yeah, I'll say a little bit about 2 guys on this list, Judd Jurovsky and Braylon Bingham, a couple guys that we talk about in multiple different sports in their excellence and being able to show out in that many different fields, including football. We're seeing here both of them being in award talks yet again with Mr. IAfootball. I mean, no surprise here. Grundy Center looks dominant again. Pleasantville emerging as a really competitive school in another sport this year. So I think that's really cool to see a couple of guys that their names are popping up in other sports. But I mean, like I mentioned, really great football seasons out of those 2.
I'll go ahead and even add on. I know Nick doesn't cover a ton of baseball, but Garrett Lutt, he won Mr. IA baseball
Yeah,
last
that's
year, and
right.
I think I'm pretty sure he won Mr. IA baseball his freshman year at Underwood too. So yeah, he's been a force. But Mick Hoffman, I will shout out him too. He was one of those maybe under the radar guys. And if you're going on stats only, Mick Hoffman has probably been the best quarterback in Class 1A to this point. His numbers are incredible. They're having a great year over at Cascade. Moving on to Class A, we go from a quarterback heavy class to a lot of running backs here. And we've talked about this guy before, Corbin Michaels. This guy's numbers are crazy, and he has not touched the rock nearly as much as he could have. He's averaging over, I think I saw today, 15 yards per carry. He's only touched the ball 62 times. He's already approaching 1,000 yards rushing. This guy has been elite on what might be the most dominant team in Class A this year in St. Ansgar. He's the guy I'm gonna highlight here.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and highlight Joe Crawford. I mean, watching them play against Madrid, I mean, at the time, I know Madrid's been battling some injuries this season, but the way that he was running the ball with ACGC, I mean, they just looked dominant, unstoppable, I would almost say. I think ACGC, I mean, they're having a really great season yet again. We saw they had a really great season last year. I feel like this team is more put together. I think they can make it further. I think they might. My memory might not be right, but I think they fell one game short of the dome last season. I would not be surprised if they can overcome that hurdle and make it to Cedar Falls this season.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Tri-Center that knocked him out last year, and that's a team that hasn't lost a regular season game in how many years? They've just been that close in the postseason, and we'll figure out if this is the year for that ACGC team to punch their ticket. But on to our final class, Class 8, man. We talked earlier about guys that maybe Nathan Moon's graphic is messed up. That'll be fixed, by the way. That is Nathan Moon, not Nathan Moo. But Tate Forch, the quarterback on the best team in Class 8, man, this year. And his numbers, if you look at him, you're going to be like, oh, this isn't anything crazy. But dude has been excellent in the time he's played, and it is 100% factored in that they have just dismantled every team they've played. I don't even know if he has a pick at this point, and he's got interceptions every single week. He's playing both sides of the ball. Tate Forch is just a proven winner, man. I've been into the Dome 5-6 years now, and I feel like Tate Forch has been playing in the Dome half the time I've been there. So he's been a fun athlete to follow the last few years, and he's looking to carry his Golden Bears team back to the Unidome to close it out his senior year.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think how many years we've been covering some of these guys. Like I remember posting
old,
about
Nick.
him the first time. Yeah, no kidding. The guy I'm going to highlight here is Jack Steger. I want to say this because early in the season, highlighting how Edgewood Colesburg lost, I mean, one of the best players in the entire state with Price Rockford, and kind of, I mean, no disrespect here, but kind of counting Edgewood Colesburg out because of him being gone. And they've had this sophomore step up and fill that role and make them competitive again in this class. I've been really impressed with the way that not only Steger has played, but Edgewood Colesburg as a whole. This team has overcome the doubts that people have had, and they've had a really great season.
No doubt. That's a good call there. But there it is. Congrats to all of our Mr. IAfootball Final 8s. You could call them semifinalists, I guess is the technical term, is probably what we'll put on the graphic, because the finalists will be the final four before the Unidome. But congrats to everybody that made it. Again, you don't have to message me. There were plenty of snubs that you could argue on this list, and you can send me a message with your argument. But this is our final 8, and this is how it's going to go the rest of the way. But moving on, how our rankers did last week. Overall, a really good week. Took a little bit of a dip as far as percentage. I think they were at 85% last week. But nevertheless, our rankers, I'll say it again, it's honed down at this point. They've got it down to this point. But it's going to get interesting again with the playoffs. You know, we're getting a lot of evenly matched games this time of year. So next week at this time, it could be interesting, that's for sure, especially for the small classes, because it's not easy to pick the postseason games. What else do we got here before we get going? Oh, last week, Nick losing ground yet again. No one's surprised at this point. Nick needs a miracle in the playoffs. I hit 100 points. We're still both behind where we were last year, so I think we're both sophomore slumping. I did lose another lock. I was shouting out Crestwood, giving them some love, and then Walk-On comes in and just beats them. So that's my third lock I've lost this year. Not proud of that, but not a bad dog week. Nick, what's your method here come the postseason? Because we're double points now in the small classes.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I feel like things get kind of wacky with the way that the pods are set up. Like there's very interesting matchups where like upsets look possible more than during the regular season. So I don't know. I think just taking advantage of those matchups where I think like it might be a little more one-sided compared to what we saw during the regular season. But man, we gotta make up some ground here. We gotta make this competitive.
We'll talk about our pick strategy once we get to the small classes, but we do have the big guys to go through first, and here we go. Class 5A, I'm going to roll with Prairie as my lock versus Dubuque Senior. Prairie's coming off a big win over Iowa City West, really put them on the map. They're sitting at 11th, it looks like, in the RPI. This is a competitive team going into the postseason. They're probably going to be going on the road. I'm not a good RPI math guy, but I'm guessing they're going to be going on the road, and that's not going to be a fun team to face. They got a great offense. They got Faison on defense. They just have playmakers, and they seem to just be a winning team at this point. They're finding their stride right now. Again, they get Dubuque Senior. I'm going to go with them as my lock. And my dog, I'm going to get a message from the Hawkeyes guys, considering I'm living around their neck of the woods. I know Morris is going to have a DM for me, and that's okay. But I got Waterloo West here in a bubble game. This is a huge game for the RPI. Waterloo West sitting at 12th. Hawkeye directly on the bubble, kept their hopes alive last week with what was a great win. I mean, that's a crazy win. You can watch that on YouTube, by the way. But Waterloo West is hot at this point too. They're winners of 3 straight. They've beat Kennedy. They beat DCG within the last month, and they seem to be finding their stride. Felix Anan is a workhorse back for them. And then you're going to have Beckett Baker, obviously. He's a dual threat quarterback for Hawkeye. That's going to be a ton of fun. That's going to be a great battle there in Hawkeye. I believe we're going to have our guy Case there covering that game again, covering the Warriors. So that's what I got for Class 5A.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my dog here. I'm going to go with Johnston taking on Roosevelt. Quick shout out to Tino Day. What?
Wait, you lock, right? Or did I mess that up?
Huh? I said lock, didn't I?
Okay.
Didn't I?
I thought you said dog.
I think you're messed up, dude. For sure.
Probably.
My dog, I'm taking Johnston over Roosevelt. Did I say dog?
Yeah, you just said dog.
Okay, maybe I did mess it up.
Okay, go. We're only on 5.
I keep looking at the dog on the screen.
Well, I'm thinking I messed up the graphics, so I'm like second guessing myself.
Okay, my bad. I'm sorry for throwing shade. My lock for this week. I'm going Johnston over to Roosevelt. Shout out to Tino Day. Covered this guy during basketball. He's a really fun guy to follow. I'm seeing that he's putting up some really good numbers at wide receiver. Talking about those athletes across the board, he is one of them. Johnson, really good season this year. I mean, anytime you leave a CIML schedule at 6-2 so far, looking to go 7-2, that is a really good season, in my opinion. And my dog pick for this week, I'm going to go with Kennedy. Kind of one of those sneaky teams, I feel like. No disrespect here to DCG. I think they're a really solid team. I think they're going to be some trouble in the playoffs. And like you mentioned, I don't know. I'm not much of an RPI guy there. I don't think that Kennedy is in the playoff race. But this is definitely not going to be a cakewalk here for DCG into the playoffs. Kennedy is still very much a competitive team who has given some good fights to some really good teams in the class this year. So DCG is going to have to earn it, and Kennedy's definitely going to make that happen. So I'll take Cedar Rapids Kennedy as the upset.
Moving on to Class 4A, a lock. I'm going with the team that I feel like we haven't talked about a lot at this point. Western Dubuque, they're sitting kind of towards the back end of our top 10 in Class 4. It seems like they've been there for a while. They won that big game against North Scott by 1 point to kind of put themselves in the driver's seat in the district, and they're going to look to lock it up this week against Burlington. Drew Bergfeld is a workhorse rushing in this offense. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch in the postseason when he gets more touches. And yeah, the Bobcats are just not really talked about enough, I think, in this 4A pool. So ready for them to make some noise and see what they've got once these pods drop. And my dog going with Waverly, Shellrock, and Decorah. Now, this is going to be a battle for second place in this district. This is the one that Xavier's kind of taken over at this point. Both these teams have lost to Xavier in the district. Battle for runner-up here, and that's an important one when it's going to come to pods and whatnot. Caleb Shipper, McIver Haggerty leading this offense, and a team that's been really competitive. They played a good game against Xavier when they did. Talking about the Go Hawks. Decorah has won the last 2 in this series. There's going to be a lot of juice here. Waverly Shellrock, just 4-4, but I do think they're better than that record, and I think they have a chance here in this final week to get a nice win over a top 10 team in the RPI and I believe in our IAfootball poll. So big one here for the Go Hawks. Also, sick mascot name. The Go Hawks is just incredible. That's a really good touch.
But yeah, and Go Hawks, man.
There you
Right?
go.
Like I dig it. Yeah, a lot of really big matchups that can like drastically change how the playoffs are going to look here next week. My lock for this week, I'm going to go with Lewis Central. Despite the record, I feel like is a really competitive team. I mean, they've played some really big games and unfortunately have taken losses against some of the best in the class. I mean, their 4 losses come from North Polk, SBL. Those are 2 top 5 teams. And then they also take losses to Glenwood and ADM, who have been in the top 10 this season in 4A. So really tough schedule for the Titans. I think this is a really good chance for them to end the season on a high note with the win and finish over 500 in the regular season. I still think this is a dangerous team in the playoffs. They have some dudes on this team. Brody Chubb at quarterback has had a really awesome season. Braden Doss, the sophomore. I mean, this dude's putting up some really, really good numbers at running back, and I think he can be a very big problem for defenses in the postseason. But yeah, I think just one of those teams that really they need to they just got to win the big game, right? I mean, every single playoff game is the big game. So if they can do that, they're going to have some good success. My dog for this week, I'm going to go with Gilbert, arguably the biggest game this week. I don't know if we're going to have anybody at this game. I'll tell you, if I was in Central Iowa still, I would be at this game. This is going to be a really fun one to go watch. North Polk, obviously, another great season. They're looking to go back to the Dome this year. James Armstrong has been phenomenal for them. And a guy that we've talked about this season with Cameron Cantonwine, he has had a really solid season. He's looking to get past that 1,000-yard mark going into the postseason. He's got a little bit of a ways to go, but nonetheless, Gilbert undefeated on the season. I mean, they've taken care of business. I think this is going to be their hardest game of the year. Looking at their schedule a little bit, this looks like, yeah, this is going to be their toughest game of the year. So this is going to be a really big test for Gilbert to see where they're at going into the playoffs. But yeah, I'll take Gilbert as the dog.
Back-to-back years where Gilbert has just started off undefeated the first 7-ish weeks of the year. I know they were like that last year. Turning into a really good program there, and undoubtedly, yeah, the biggest game in Class 4A for that district title. Moving on to Class 3A, and some more big games here. Williamsburg fighting for playoff hopes. They are right on the bubble of that RPI, boy. I'll be honest, I don't know how to calculate if this team wins, where they're going to go in the RPI. If this team lose, I do know that we will find out the RPI the night of these games, and we'll be able to know who makes it. Williamsburg at that 15 spot. I'm guessing if they win, they're going to be fine. Again, I don't want to confirm any of that, but I'd assume at 15th with a win, you're going to be safe, especially in that good district they've been in. Cash Brown has had a really good sophomore year at quarterback. Weisskopf obviously can game break there. They've got some really fun athletes at Williamsburg, and they're going to be on the back end of the pods. But again, another scary team that's going to go into someone's place and look to ruin a home playoff game. At least that's how it looks right now. And then as my dog, another team on the bubble, Humboldt and Sioux Center. Now Humboldt at 16th in the RPI. They're looking to get that wild card, especially if they lose this one. If they win this one, you're going to have some chaos in that district. But with a loss, you're behind Sioux Center, you're behind Heelan, you're putting yourself on that bubble. It's going to be really close. So going and beating Sioux Center is going to help your chances a lot more. Big game for the Flaherty brothers, Jackson and Chase. They beat MOC Floyd Valley, which was a big win for them. This one's going to be even tougher, though. Ezra Hibma has been great for Sioux Center. They've been really good. He's an IAfootball Elite Eight finalist, if you want to call that. Big game, though, in Class 3A here. I'm going to go with Humboldt in this one.
Yeah, you could say that those are two of the wildest districts in the 3A season. Both of them just crazy good teams in both of those. My lock for this week in 3A, I'm going to go with Waller. Another team that I kind of didn't really see as a one of the top competitors in the class going into this season, and again, like most teams do, prove me wrong. Waller is back, competing for another title. They're 6-2 on the season. I'm pretty sure that they clinched the district championship last week. Obviously, I don't want to say that for sure because I don't have it confirmed in front of me, but I'm pretty sure. But yeah, Waller, another really good season. They had a really tough district this year, and they did well. JP Elbert, quarterback, 1,100 yards on the season. Passing, and the defense has really been well. So I think this is a great game for them to end on a win, go 7-2, and get ready for the playoffs. My dog pick for this week, I'm going to go with Assumption. I think this is actually the same district. Assumption taking on Mount Vernon. Really big game for Assumption. I think they kind of need this game to get into the playoffs, but I think Mount Vernon might be the same way. Both of these teams fighting for a playoff spot nonetheless, and anybody who wins here is going to give themselves a really good chance to lock that in. Kellen Haverback is going to be tough. Previously mentioned Mr. IAfootball Elite Eight finalist. But man, Assumption just a sneaky team. They were not in the rankings for the better part of the season, and then in the last several weeks, just kind of sneaking in there. And I think at this point they might be in the top 10 now. So really solid season out of Assumption, kind of starting off the season pretty rough, but then slowly working their way, racking up win after win, and now they're a playoff team. So I think that'll be a good game, but I'll take them as my dog.
There you go. Off to Class 2A. I'm going with PCM here, and that, I mean, I guess now that we get into the small classes, we are going off of your district ranking. So this is not going off the IAfootball polls. We did it like this last year. So basically, if you're on the road, you're a dog. If you're at home, you're a lock. That's kind of how we're going about this for the small class, and that's how we'll go about it for the postseason. Just make it easy, put everyone on the same page, and go from there. And we can now pick teams for the second time compared to the regular season. So I'm going to go with PCM here. Just saw them a few weeks ago. Really liked what I saw. Run, run, run. I mean, that's what they do, and you know they're going to do it, and you still can't stop them. Luis Day did go down in that game. I don't know what his health is at. Hopefully he's recovering quickly, but Easton Morris was filling in the gaps incredibly well for them. They get a good West Liberty team, but I think this PCM squad is a legit title contender and might be the biggest threat to Kemper Catholic. So I'm going to go with PCM to pick up a opening round win, and my dog going with Bellevue at Waukon. You got a 7-1 Bellevue team going on the road. Cal Boniface, Keenan Kilberg looking to bounce back. I had West Branch as a dog last week, and West Branch goes and beats Bellevue. Now I'm picking Bellevue to bounce back from that loss. But Waukon, in their own right, coming off a big win against Crestwood, where they spoiled my lock. So I guess it's just a full circle moment here. Bellevue, Waukon, opening round in Class 2A. This is going to be a fun one. And again, just a really good team going on the road in the Comets.
Yeah, there are some really fun first round matchups that we're seeing here. But my lock pick for this week, I'm going to go with Clarinda, a team that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, I know that they put themselves on the map for me personally when they got that upset win against Van Meter. And since then, I mean, really solid season. They had a really good game against a good Woodward Granger team last week. And yeah, I think the Cardinals are going to be a dangerous team, underrated team going into this playoff. And I think they can take care of business first round against Pella Christian. My dog pick, I'm going to go with Woodward Granger on the road to Hampton Dumont Cal. I think this is kind of interesting. Talon Fusen has 884 passing yards, 883 rushing yards, almost perfectly 50-50 there. And I think that's exactly how Woodward Ranger gets you, is that you have that dual threat with Fusen being able to beat you with the pass and with the run being their leading rusher. But I like Woodward Granger this season. I mean, near the bottom of the rankings for our IAfootball rankings, but only 2 losses on the season. I think they are still very much in this postseason race. I still think that this is a really competitive team that can go far. So I'll take the Hawks for the win.
Off to Class 1A, where I'm going to roll with Regina. They got Northeast at home. Regina has just been unstoppable this year, and I know Northeast has some athletes. Maxon and Skilton is going to pose some threats to the Regals, but Regina has just been a complete team all year. I got to see them in person, and I believe the hype after that. They looked legit, and that's going to be a fun team. It's going to be interesting how these pods work for Class 1A. Got a little bit of a mess to sort out depending on who wins where, but that's what's going to be fun about this. But Regina looking to align themselves to host that pod and control their destiny on their home turf. And we're bringing back the Hinton curse in the postseason. I am going with Hinton as a dog. Don't call me Nick. Nick would never do this, but I am going with Hinton. Cole Friesen has been an animal, leading them in passing and rushing. These are two teams that want to run the football. Both these guys have over 2,000 yards rushing. Emmitsburg is a good team. Braden Yates has had a great year. This is one of those games where the clock is just going to keep running, and each possession is going to matter so much. But Hinton has had a great year. They're highly ranked in our IAfootball pool, and I think that's for good reason. Being in West Lyons District, it's a tough one to get out of. And Hinton did so, and they've looked good, and so I'm going to roll with them.
Yeah, we should just start every show. I have a counter above my head that says how many times, like my record against picking against Hinton. It's 0 for something. So, my lock for this week, I'm going to go with Trainer. Love that Trainer logo there, the retro spot. They're taking on Ogden. Sorry, Tony. Isn't he from Ogden?
yeah, it's where he's from. And I don't know if this Trainer logo is the legit one. It's just every time I type in on Canva Trainer, that's just what pops up. So I'm not even sure if that's the one on Bound, but it's peak.
It's not. It's good though. Like it doesn't. Sometimes it's fine because it looks good.
The T is what the one on Bound? It might be.
Yeah, it's just the T with like the script Cardinals across the bar.
I'll give them the upgrade. Until I get an email from them telling me to use the other one, I'm going to keep using this one.
Yeah, no. That's what I did for basketball too. Like Trainers had a really good year. They were in a very competitive district this season, and they escaped 7-1 on the season. They've won their last 5 games, with a couple of those being Tri-Center and Underwood, who are some teams that are competing for a state title. But yeah, Trainer, really solid season. Ethan Hill, a guy that we just talked about. He's a finalist, correct? We just talked about 1,300 passing yards on the year for him. 21 total touchdowns for him as well. I think this Cardinal team looks really good, man. I think they're the real deal in a really competitive 1A class. Not a team that we talked about going into this season being super competitive, but certainly emerged as one. So looking forward to watching them. My dog for this week, I'm going to go with Tri-Center. I think this is a really fun game with Tri-Center and Ridgeview. The first time playing each other in the Bound era, it looks like. Tri-Center being a team that we've talked about this season being a scary one to have to host in the playoffs. And I think Ridgeview is a really good team, but they are going to get their money's worth with Tri-Center. AJ Hart having another great season, another season of being one of the best quarterbacks in the class. So I think they're going to give him a run for their money. And yeah, so I'll take the Trojans as a dog.
Yeah, looking in Class 1A, I'm willing to bet if you're a 2 seed and you're looking at all the 3 seeds, I'm guessing you're going to say I don't want to see those guys. That's what I would guess. That's a really good team in a really tough district for sure. Yeah, and Western Iowa is going to have some crazy games in those small classes. It's going to be a ton of fun to follow. Moving on to Class A, though, going with Wapsie Valley. Well, I'm all aboard the Wapsie Valley train, the hype train at this point. They have just done nothing but climb in our Class A rankings. Hunter Curley is continuing to climb our Mr. IA football poll. He made the Elite Eight, and Wapsie Valley keeps playing like they have. He's gonna have a tough time saying he's not a finalist or even a winner. They're gonna have a tough time. Jack Thole of Starma is a really fun athlete to follow. Starman's gonna be a tough team to put out, but Wapsie Valley has just been really dominant this last month plus, especially. They've been really gaining speed and just gotten in the IHSAA top 4 pool, so they're set to host their own pod, which is huge. That's such a huge advantage, and they're set to do that. So I'm going to go with Wapsie Valley, and I'm going to go with Mount Air as my dog. This is a sleeper team here. It's a team that only lost to ACGC by 8, and I say, wow, they only lost to 8. But if you look at what ACGC's done, they have just tormented anyone against them, and Mount Air played them very competitively. Mount Air also played Pleasantville very competitively, which is an elite team in a class above. So this is a team that's probably not getting enough love, and maybe it's just because they don't have that crazy star putting up wild numbers week in and week out. But Ruggles, Thompson, and Reed are a really good trio, passing, rushing, and receiving the ball. Mount Air is going to be a really tough out. They go to St. Albert, who just lost to Woodbury Central for a district title, and that's no easy bounce back for St. Albert, going from Woodbury Central and now having to turn your focus to a Mount Air team. So that's going to be a tough game. It's going to be really fun, but I'm going to go with Mount Air here to pull a little upset.
Yeah, I like it. My lock, I'm going to go with Linville Sully because I know there's Linville Sully people who watch, and bruh. Yeah.
What was that?
Remember, I got a cat.
Oh. Is that the curse? Like October, a cat walks across Nick's screen as he's picking Linville Sully.
Isn't that what it is? It's like it's a black cat that you walk across.
We'll see next week.
The curse of
Oh no,
it's a bad omen.
Okay, what about Linville Sully, Nick?
Okay, so I know there's people who watch Linville Sully from Linville Sully, and you got their hopes up that I was gonna go to the game because they followed me, and I was there because my grandpa was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they did not get any footage from their game. So I'm going to go out of my way to pick them as a lock this week against Wapello. I think Wapello will still give them a good game this week. However, I think they looked really solid in that game against Colfax Mingo. Their defense has been just in the last 5 games. You see they've played some good defensive games here against, like, for example, they played Madrid a few weeks ago and only allowed 6. A lot of those games, only one where they gave up more than 14, and that was 20 to BGM, who has been a really solid team this year. So I'll take the Hawks in a win there. And my dog pick for this week, I'm going to go with Maquoketa Valley. And
what? What?
Nothing. I'm just thinking about something. Okay. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to take Maquoketa Valley. This Danville team, I like that you picked Danville a couple weeks ago on this show. They're kind of a team that we didn't talk about, and 6-2 on the season. I mean, matching Maquoketa Valley there. And I think that Maquoketa Valley will give them a good game here. They played competitively against Wapsie Valley, who we just talked about, has had a really good year. And that game that you picked, Danville only losing by 5 to Pekin, who has been ranked more, I think, the entire season. So I think this will be a great game, but I'll take the Wildcats for the upset.
Yeah, Danville's a team to look out for sure. And it's one of those teams that we just don't talk about a lot, and that's unfortunate. But that's what the show is for, is trying to talk about teams that we don't usually talk about. So yeah. Anyways, I don't know why Nick was laughing. I'm excited to hear about that after the show. But Audubon, talked about them a lot on this show. I went up and dug a stat. I dug a stat up here. Class 8-man Audubon in the first quarter this year has outscored all of their opponents 252-37. That is at the end of the first quarter. Now I don't know if that's like the best. I'm sure Bishop Garrigan, Gladbrook, and company have done similar numbers, but every time I'm looking at Audubon's box score, I'm like, these guys just put up 46 in the first quarter again. Like, what are we doing? So they have just been unstoppable. They get Lennox, who I think is a competitive team, and I think Lennox could give a scare, but I just think Audubon has been in another world, especially as of late. I'm going to go with them as my lock. Shout out Coach Burks. I'm sure he's watching out there. My dog, I'm going to go Fremont Mills against St. Albert. Fremont Mills 6-2, 2 losses though to Woodbine and Audubon. Those are about the 2 best losses you could have. Sawyer Forney, Paxton Campbell, those guys are elite playmakers. It's a tough draw for St. Albert. That's a really good team coming on the road into your place. I'm going to go with Fremont Mills here.
Yeah, I like it. My lock pick previously mentioned Gladbrook Rhinebeck, another team who has been dominating the 8-man scene this year yet again. I don't remember. I think they made it to the championship last season. I know they were for sure in the Dome, Gladbrook Rhinebeck, and it's looking to be that way again. I mean, a team that's kind of one of those teams we talk about, nobody that's putting up these crazy numbers, which is surprising for an 8-man team, but really dominant team performance this year and really even numbers across the board. So I really like this Rebels team, and I like their logo. That's a classic. My dog pick, I'm going to go with Wayne. Very rare situation where somebody gets to pick a dog pick 2 weeks in a row, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Wayne, I cashed in the dog pick on them, and they got it for me. So why not try again? They're taking on Bedford. They're both 7-1 on the season. Wayne, according to Bound, has never gotten a win in this series. Last time they played was 2017. I think this is a new Wayne team. And again, just a team I didn't really know about until the last couple weeks. And I think this is really interesting and fun to get to know more about these teams that I previously wouldn't have. So I'll take the Falcons for an upset in this 8-man playoff.
Yep. They took the Atlanta logo and their printer was out of ink. The printer was out of colored ink. So they just had it over the black and white Falcons logo. Before we go, though, I'm going to see if I can do this. I'm going to see if I can figure this out. Hold on. Because do you remember what happened last week, Nick?
What?
I said.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I said, if anyone is watching at this point at the end of the show when I figured no one else would be, comment IAfootball. And it's time to give some love to these people. We had, I think, 6. These are 6 comments for people that watched all the way until the end. C. Redmond, IAfootball. Wayne also has massive linemen getting college offers. Love it. Preston Rockford. Is he from Edgewood Colesburg? He might be. Thank you for watching, Preston. Thanks. Ryan, IAfootball. Where can I hear more about 5A football? Ryan, we're going to do a pods show on 5A on Friday night or Saturday morning. I'm not really sure. We're going to talk a lot about 5A, and I think we're going to do an instant reaction show after the pods drop. So, Ryan, tune in this weekend. We'll talk some 5A. Chester, thanks for watching. IAfootball. Jamie Lloyd, IAfootball. Appreciate you watching. And then Shannon Clark, IAfootball. I appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video. They stayed. They read the entire question. They saw, have you ever seen that thing when the teacher like puts the hidden question in there and sees if you actually read? Appreciate you guys. That meant a lot to me. That was really cool. I did not think we'd get that many comments. I know it's only 6, but yeah.
That's more than I thought. I thought it was going to be 0. So.
I thought so too. I was reading the comments like earlier this week. I'm like, why are these people commenting IAfootball? Like, I was really confused. And I'm like, oh yeah, I said that. So appreciate y'all for tuning in. That means a lot. This whole season's been a ton of fun. No keyword this week, but maybe we'll do it again next week. I gotta throw the scent off. So yeah, I appreciate everyone watching. Nick, is that all? Is that all we got this week? I think it's it.
Yeah, I think so. Next time we get on here, we will have playoffs for every single class.
Yes, we will. Still debating. I think I'm going to do the pod show on Friday night for those. It's just going to be late. I'm going to be coming back from Carroll. It's probably going to be an 11:30 start. I'm going to try and prep my pods beforehand with some picks. That way I can be ready. Because last year was just a mess. Like, we just had no clue what we were doing. I think we have a little bit better an idea this year. And Quinn, said he'd be willing to hop on. Quinn Douglas, for those that watch that show, he
Mm.
said he'd be willing to hop on our live stream when he does get his pods ready. So that could be a ton of fun. It's going to be a late night, but that always is. And yeah, it's a ton of fun. Pods come out Saturday morning at 10 a.m., I do believe, and we'll have those out on our socials as soon as we can. But appreciate y'all tuning in. 45 minutes of pure high school football content. Congrats to all of our Elite 8 Mr. IAfootball finalists. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you guys Friday night, Saturday morning, whenever it is. We'll see you.